right, so let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. He's been hanging out all day. What time did you get here?
0:30 is when I got there. Yes,
you
exactly.
were still here.
Yeah.
Heard's lawyer, we just heard Heard's lawyer, Heard, all right, I'm going to stop saying that same word. We just heard Heard's lawyer talking about the First Amendment in that closing arguments. It is an argument that they have made throughout this case, that's what this case is about. I want to play a little clip of it and talk to you on the other side.
Your key question to answer is, does the First Amendment give Ms. Heard the right to write the words that she wrote in this article on December 18th, 2018? That's the question. And you cannot simultaneously protect and uphold the First Amendment and find in favor of Johnny Depp on this claim.
When they were making that argument just a couple of minutes ago, you kind of nodded and it sounded like you thought that was a good strategy. Just your take on that line of arguing here.
I think it's very effective. What they're trying to do is say that we have a robust protection of free speech in this country. And you don't want to penalize somebody who takes to the Washington Post, writes an op-ed about her experience, about her life experience with what she perceived as abuse. But you don't want to infringe on the constitutional protections of free speech by penalizing Amber Heard for speaking. I thought that was very effective to fold that into their overall argument, which was many-pronged. I mean, in addition to that, they argued that, look, this statement wasn't about Johnny Depp from the four corners of the statement in the op-ed. That is, by the way, if it is not obviously about Johnny Depp, she wins. If she's telling the truth, if she isn't lying, truth is an absolute defense to defamation. She wins. And I thought the defense, and I call it the defense, Amber Heard's team did an effective job of making that argument to the jury. Now, on their counterclaims, that's where I thought their argument kind of fizzled. But it's not so much the lawyer's fault. Her counterclaims are complicated. She's essentially suing for defamation for being called a liar. And when that happens, you have a double layer of proof. You're lying about me being a liar, and the jury naturally is going to get confused.
Yeah, that's
so it's
complicated
not really,
to figure out.
It's incredibly complicated. And it's something I've seen in the last few years. You may remember Michael Cohen was sued by Michael Avenatti for something akin to, being a liar, a defamatory statement. And so I've seen that a lot in recent history. It's an end run around statutes of limitations. For example, in some high-profile sexual assault cases, if the expiration date is already gone on the statute of limitations, if that person has denied it, you saw that someone sued Donald Trump for defamation based on alleged sexual assault. But the point is, the argument that they made about the Constitution, it will likely strike to the core of at least some of these jurors who value that kind of thing, who are aware of free speech. By the way, don't forget that we just saw a very unique procedural rule in Virginia where they don't announce who the alternates are until the end of the case. That may sound like not a big deal, but it's a huge deal, and let me tell you why.
Yeah, you seem like whoa about that.
Huge deal, because if you, during the trial, a trial attorney focuses on jurors that are receptive to their story.
You try to get someone that you
try to make a connection.
Yeah.
That is everything, making that connection and pitching your case to someone that you hope will go into that jury room and be your advocate. Imagine that from the outset of the jury, you feel you've identified, you've connected with one of those jurors. Hey, juror number 5 is nodding, they're smiling, they're with us, man. We have that juror, and she or he will go into the jury room and advocate for our position. And you've done that throughout the trial, and then at the very end, the judge pulls the envelope, and that juror's number is read. She stands up, walks out. Goodbye. Now you totally have to reevaluate where the jury is. And you could lose good jurors, or it could go the other way. You could say, oh my gosh, that's the juror who folded her arms and shook her head at everything I said, and now she's gone. Thank goodness. So it really is, it sounds like a minor procedural rule. Could have major implications.
Yeah, it could be a big deal. All right, I want to ask you a little bit more about this, because it is kind of complicated. Heard never mentioned Johnny Depp's name in the Washington Post op-ed that's at the core of this case. Do you think that Depp's team did a good job? I mean, how do you think they did bringing this defamation case and their claims, given that? Did they bring it home for you in their closing arguments, or were you still thinking like, not so sure?
I've been pounding my fist about this for days now because it's quietly one of the major issues in the case. The whether or not Amber Heard lied is the flashier one. It's the glitzier one. And that lie, proving whether or not she lied or told the truth about being abused, really became the centerpiece of the case. It became a mini trial, as defamation cases do, about the underlying claims, which in this case was a domestic violence case.
Right.
But one of the elements of defamation is that the statement must be of and concerning the plaintiff. In other words, it must be about the plaintiff. And if you read Amber Heard's op-ed, and I would suggest that anybody watching, if you've been following the trial, pull it up. I did this morning. It's still online. You can read it. It's from several years ago, but it's there.
Yeah.
Read it and ask yourself, I mean, even given all that you've heard after this trial, but from the four corners of that document, is it about Johnny Depp? Or is she more framing herself as a survivor of some vague abuse that we don't even know what it is? If you conclude that Johnny Depp hasn't met his burden of a preponderance of evidence, that statement is about him, then you must enter, and I'm doing my closing argument shtick, but you must enter a verdict for Amber Heard on the defense side. So that is a really interesting piece that we focused more on the domestic violence allegations. But if that statement isn't about Johnny Depp and he hasn't proven that, then the jury must enter a defense verdict for Amber Heard, at least theoretically. Juries can do virtually anything when they're in that jury room.
Well, before I let you go, do you have a sense or a feeling about where this one is going to go based on what you've seen today? Did anything point to you that you're like, ooh, there was strength here, weakness here? Or will you be watching to see what kind of questions the jury comes back with, what kind of things they say?
Yeah. If you look, using an unscientific review, as I think we all have, of social media, you generally see, just as we saw right outside the courthouse, the vast majority of people are in support of Johnny Depp. But if you were looking at this with a clean slate, as the jurors hopefully are, there were plenty of moments where Johnny Depp was caught being untruthful. I'll give you an example. When he was confronted with text messages that were obviously his own, and he said, well, I didn't do it. Yeah, but they're yours. Well, I didn't do it. So that's the kind of thing that any one juror might say, you know what? He's out of the credibility box forever. I no longer believe anything he says. So that is a possibility when they're in that jury room. Another piece, too, is that they may conclude that either of these people or both of them were not credible at all. And if they do that, it's very possible we could see two defense verdicts. In other words, a pox on both your houses, 0 for both of you, get out of here. They could conclude that. But, really what I think is likely is that outcome, that there are two defense verdicts, but most likely that Amber Heard does get a defense verdict. And I hate making predictions. I'm going to get burned on this for doing it. But I think if I were to handicap it, it would be leaning towards a defense verdict for Amber Heard.
All right. Danny Cevallos, a prediction. Rare from you.
I know. I'm going to regret it. They haven't fed me. I've been here since the crack of dawn.
If you had pizza, you wouldn't be doing that.
Yes.
I know. We'll blame it on the starvation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.